It's going to be a very consequential offseason for the Bengals. We'll start with the free agents, pending free agents on the defensive side. DJ Reader, to me, is going to be the big question mark here. What do you do with DJ?
Well, I think part of it is depending on what's with the injury. I mean, when can he come back? To me, a perfect scenario is he doesn't come back till a few weeks to a half a year into next season. He's ready to play at that point, and then you say, hey, it's beneficial for you and for us for you to come back to play on a prove-it contract. I can't imagine any other team in football signs him not knowing what his health is. That's the most interesting one to me, to your point.
What about Chido Awuzie? He's underperformed, granted, coming back off of a knee injury. He just hasn't looked like himself this year, though.
No, and you would hope another year removed from that. So I think what you let him do is go test the market. If the market's there for him and another team's willing to make an offer that you don't think you can come close to matching, you say, hey, thanks for your service, move on. But if the market isn't there for him because of the season, because teams aren't sure about the knee, maybe you can get him back on a one-year prove-it contract. I tend to think that's not going to happen, but I do think it's possible.
On the offensive side, this is the way more interesting thing because these two wide receivers right here, Higgins, Boyd, you also have the tight end room could be completely empty if all the guys walk. And then there's Jake Browning and Jonah Williams, who I think has been lost in the shuffle. He had a pretty solid year at right tackle.
He had a really good year. I just don't know if you can afford him. He played at $12 mil this year on the fifth-year option. He's probably going to command more in the marketplace. I'm going to guess some team's going to probably sign him to play left tackle. Maybe not. He proved his worth as a right tackle, but even right tackles now we're starting to see get paid. You know, Jack Conklin was a good right tackle who got paid. Jonah will probably get paid in that regard. This is the big one here, the ERFA. That's a guy who you have exclusive rights. He will be a Bengal next year. I can't imagine they don't. All they have to do is make him an offer for the veteran minimum. He will be back. These two guys are restricted, which means you can make an offer to them. Another team would have to match it, and then you could possibly get compensation. Although for neither one of these guys, you'll get it because both were undrafted free agents, so you'll get no compensation for those guys. They love Drew Sample. He has a worth in this team. I know a lot of people don't see it, but they do. He was a total bust. The big one is this guy. Do you franchise tag him or not? And that's where we're at.
My question, though, if you let T walk, do you think Tyler comes back, or are you going to lose both of them?
I don't, just because I think Tyler has backslid a little bit in his career. And again, he's in his 8th year. This will be his 9th year.
He's going to be 30 when next season
starts. Point, you know, you drafted Charlie Jones for a reason. I think it's time to cut loose and let's see what you got. You saw a little bit of it against the Browns today on what he may be able to do moving forward.
All right, now this is one that we're going to talk about. He is not a free agent, but the way his deal is structured, he might as well be. They could bring him back if they wanted. What did they do with Joe Mixon?
He just wasn't explosive, and I say that when he had a 44-yard run today, but it was a 44-yard run against backups. Not to discount. A 1,000-yard season still means something. 4 times in 7 years he's done it. He still had a productive year, double-digit touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't an awful year. It just wasn't an explosive year, and they talked all off-season. They talked to us at the Combine of, we want to be more explosive in the run game. Chase Brown has the potential to be that. That said, if you let him walk, and I think it's more likely they do than bring him back, you're probably going to have to go spend for some veteran at some level, whoever that might be, and it may be the same guy who gives the production you would have gotten for Joe Mixon at a similar price. So, again, it's a big decision to have to weigh.
One thing we learned about playing in the AFC North this year, you still have to be able to run the ball.
Yes, you do.
The Bengals offense sorely missed that. Okay, here's a fun worksheet.
Yep.
Fill in team needs, and where do you think they go free agency or draft?
Yeah, I think primarily for me, this is the spot first round. You know, we've seen guys first or even early second round. T was early second round. Tyler was second round. Obviously, Jamar Chase was number 5 overall. We've seen a lot of receivers come into this league. Rarely do we see any more a first round wide receiver bust. There's an occasional guy, but a lot of these guys come in and you're not waiting for second year, third year. These guys can hit the ground running. So if you make a decision on T and you say, hey, there's plenty of guys in this draft, I think that's the place they go in the first round. This is a spot that's interesting to me, not in the draft, but in free agency if you let Jonah Williams go, which I think they do. Then, you know, the next right tackle that you would have to sign. I know there's a lot of people that have talked about guard as well. Is Cordell Volson the guy moving forward? Do you have to be stouter with Alex Kapp? I thought Alex was fine. Even center with Ted Karras, I think, has been questioned. Those are the two main ones to me. Running back, again, it would be a veteran guy. It wouldn't be high level in free agency. This is another one right here, and it's more the nose tackle type, the DJ Reader. You know, Josh Tupou as a backup piece is what he is. That to me is an important one. Other than that, I mean, you know, you can never have enough of these guys for sure. This is one they don't need just because, again, you've drafted Myles Murphy, and he did get better as the year went along. He's still only your 3rd defensive end. So to me, you're right here, right here, right here are your main spots.
We're not even talking about, do we have the 3rd straight year with a new punter, or is Brad Robbins back?
Well, if he's not back, there will be competition for him, and maybe it is the punt guy. Maybe it's Matt Araiza, who, again, he got cleared of all the charges. He's got a big leg. He was going to be Buffalo's punter. You know, Brad did have a very good Sunday, so maybe that's a starting point for him. But yeah, that's an interesting. It won't be in the draft. I think that, it was something this year they had the luxury to make that draft pick for. The place that they've really missed a lot on are these spots here and here in the draft. I mean, they had guys today: Jackson Carman, 2nd round, 21; Deontay Smith, 4th round, 21; Trey Hill, 6th round, 21. Until today, you know how many snaps those guys had taken on offense this year?
I saw your tweet, so I'm going to.
It was one
special team, no
snap.
offensive.
That's incredible to me. I mean, you've got to start getting some depth at those positions. I'd rather have veteran guys as free agents come in, but if you're going to draft in some of those rounds 2 through 6, you better hit on somebody from a depth piece.
Going to be an interesting offseason. Richard Skinner joining me to break down the beginning of what's going to be a wild time for the Bengals.